Come along. Another edition of Indiana Sports Beat on this Thursday, March 14th. Welcome in. Hopefully your day is off to a good start, and if not, we can get it headed in that direction. Justin Kalen, no Jim Coyle today, as he had an opportunity to head up to the United Center in Chicago to take in the Big Ten tournament, so we're allowing him to do that. He will join us probably about 6:40 as well as 7:05, those two segments. So look forward to that. But I'll be here until then, so lucky you. Y'all get stuck with me today, but we will have a good time. It is game day, a game day edition here of Indiana Sports Beat, as Indiana set to take on Ohio State today at 12:30. We'll get into all that as well as lots of other things. Chronic Hoosier on the program today. Lance Stimler will join me as well as we try to preview the game for tonight. But before we go any further, let's go ahead and do the headlines. And these are your headlines, Daily Hoosier headlines for this 14th day of March 2019. As the Power Five began their conference tournaments yesterday, in the Big Ten, Nebraska defeats Rutgers 68-61. They will advance to take on Maryland today. And in the second game, Illinois beats Northwestern 74-69. Illinois will take on Iowa, the 6th seed, tonight at 9:30. Former Hoosier Tevin Coleman signs a 2-year deal up to $10 million with the San Francisco 49ers. Those are a look at your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 14th day of March 2019. For more information, make sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com. So like I said, big program today. Chronic Hoosier, normally with us on Tuesdays, but he will join us today to discuss Indiana. Was traveling on Tuesday, so we had to bump him back a couple days, but looking forward to talking to Chronic today. Always enjoy his insight and knowledge when it comes to this basketball team. And same for Lance Stimler, guy who knows what it's like to play in the Big Ten tournament, a guy who knows what it's like to play in the Big Ten tournament to try to get to the NCAA tournament. So be a lot of fun talking to Lance today and just discussing the pressure of being in that tournament and having your life on the line, basically, where you need to win to advance and try to get yourself into the NCAA tournament. Hit us up on the text line, 502-414-1450, that number today, 502-414-1450. Going to need all the help I can get, so if y'all would text in, let me know your thoughts. Got anything you want me to cover? Don't feel shy. Hit it in on the text line. I'll get it and read it. We'll have a good time with it. So, big program today, like I said. Indiana taking on Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament tonight, or today, actually, 12:30 start. A little break from the work day. That's going to be nice. If you do have to work today, make sure you get that Hulu, Netflix, whatever you watch your TV on, YouTube TV. I know that's a popular one as well. Pull that up at work. Get your Hoosier fix in. It should be a fun game. I'm really looking forward to it today. I don't think, without Caleb Wesson, I saw Indiana winning this game by 15, 16 points. That's not being biased. That's being a realist. Ohio State without Caleb Wesson is a completely different beast. But with Caleb Wesson coming back, that literally changes everything for this game today. I mean, you're bringing in a 6'9", 250-pound guy back from suspension. That's going to mean something. And Ohio State, they're playing for their tournament life too. No question about it. So I'm looking forward to this game today. It's going to be a lot of fun. I love that it's early. You win, you get to celebrate the rest of the day. You lose, rest of the day kind of sucks. No way to sugarcoat that at all. So hopefully Indiana's able to pull it out, just like Nebraska and Illinois did last night in the first two games of the Big Ten tournament. I watched majority of that Illinois-Northwestern game, and I actually watched majority of the Nebraska-Rutgers game as well. Nebraska, what a win last night, 68-61 over Rutgers. Nebraska was losing pretty much the entire game. They went on I believe it was a 13-0 run deep in the second half, and were able to come back and beat Rutgers. Best part of that game, though, happened after the game. If you missed it, Tim Miles does his interview on the court, celebrates with his team, and he's running back to the tunnels to celebrate with his team in the locker rooms. He's got his hands in the air, waving at fans. This dude turns a corner and busts it. I mean, falls flat on the ground, does a front gainer, all that. He's flipping everywhere, but falls flat on his face, gets up, gives the safe symbol, gives him a little fist pump, and heads back to the locker room. It was great. Good stuff. Tim Miles, good sport. It could have been an embarrassing situation, but coming off of a win in the Big Ten tournament when, quite frankly, your team has not been playing all that well, I don't know that anything could have brought him down last night. So, Nebraska not in the NCAA tournament, but why not be in a good mood if you're Tim Miles? You saw your first win in quite some time, it feels like. And if you're sitting there thinking that Nebraska's coaching staff, Nebraska's team, everybody at Nebraska doesn't believe that they can win this Big Ten tournament, you're crazy. Every single team in this Big Ten tournament believes that they can go on and win the Big Ten tournament. Now, how strongly they believe that, that's up for debate. And you would think a team like Nebraska doesn't have the strongest belief that they can come in and win this tournament. But they believe it nonetheless. I guarantee you that. Kind of like Illinois last night. They believed. Illinois defensive pressure shuts down Northwestern 74-69. And I'm not going to put this lightly. Those two games last night were awful. They were great games, but awful basketball. Great games, awful basketball. And I mean great games in the sense of they were entertaining. Absolutely entertaining. But was that great basketball where the teams played it clean? Not a lot of fouls? Yeah, no. There were turnovers abound in both of those games. Let me pull up those stats, actually, because it was pretty incredible just how many turnovers there were on both sides. And then as I pull it up, Nebraska only had 9 turnovers. But Rutgers, 22 turnovers. You are not going to win a game with 22 turnovers. Rutgers also with 25 fouls in that game last night. Nebraska shot the free throws 32 times, going 23 of 32. So there's your ball game. Rutgers 9 of 11 from the line. Just couldn't close them out last night. And then in that second game, Northwestern Illinois, that one didn't have a whole lot of turnovers, just 19. Went to bed about halftime of that game, so first half wasn't great. But they cleaned it up. Illinois winning 74-69 against Northwestern. As I said, Illinois will move on to play Iowa. That will be the nightcap tonight in the Big Ten tournament. Taking a look at the Big Ten tournament bracket, as I said, it will be Indiana, Ohio State starting it off today at 12:30. Then you've got Nebraska and Maryland following that. Penn State and Minnesota scheduled to tip off around 6 o'clock tonight. And then Iowa and Illinois, like I said, will be the nightcap 25 minutes after the conclusion of that Penn State-Minnesota game. So full day of action. This is one of the best days in the college basketball calendar, other than you make a case for the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament. There's really no excitement that compares to that. But Conference Championship Week is a close second, especially on Thursday of Conference Championship Week when you've got all the teams firing off, except for the teams that got double byes, the Kentuckys, the Tennessees, Purdue's, all those teams of the world. But this is when it gets fun. Fun time of the year. There's a lot on the line. You can see that in the way that teams approach getting out on the floor. It's almost like they've turned the energy up another notch. It's just an exciting time of the year, and we'll get into all that. I've got some quotes I want to play. Head coach Archie Miller, as well as some of the players. So we'll get into all that as well. we got a big program today. Want to thank our sponsors, Sweetland Waste Removal, Reynolds Family Dentistry, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. I might actually go up there today for the ball game. We'll see. Be a great place to go watch Indiana basketball. They've got all the TVs you need, so if Indiana game isn't going the way you would like it to, you can turn your attention to another game. There's going to be a lot of them today. There are going to be a lot of them. I'll try to see what else is going to be on this here today. I know you've got the ACC that started yesterday. Virginia Tech and Florida State play today. That should be a pretty good game, about 2:30. NC State they're all in the same place, but they will take on Virginia today. Got Kansas State, TCU, Boise State, Nevada, Missouri, Auburn. By the way, did you see any of the SEC tournament last night? Georgia Bulldogs. Whew. Not good. Not good at all. Tom Crean, rough go of it his first year in Georgia. 11-21, the overall record. Safe to say, not a tournament team. I've watched them a few times. They're actually pretty fun to watch. It's just not a good team. They just don't have the talent. Now, is it as bad as Tom Crean's first year in Bloomington? 6-25? No, absolutely not. Not sure that Tom Crean will ever have a band of recruits like he had his first year in Bloomington. But it's not a huge step ahead of what he had. So Tim texted into the show. You think if we don't get Brooks, how about this Trey Mitchell? He could play inside, could step out and hit the three. Thanks for the text, Tim. I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen Trey Mitchell play a whole lot. I've seen a few of his highlights, but it's not a player that I've delved into. I did see that Indiana made his top 6. But yeah, I mean, that's perfect. You need a guy who can step inside and then can step out and hit the three. Got a big guy like that. I mean, kind of the equivalent of Juwan Morgan. Now, Juwan Morgan doesn't hoist a lot of threes up, but he can step outside and knock the three down. Yeah, absolutely, Indiana needs a guy like that. And I think there's a couple of guys on the radar if it doesn't work out with Keon Brooks, which not sure that it will. I haven't had a great feeling about it all week, I'll be honest, and I've heard a lot of Kentucky chatter. Yeah, Kentucky has a guy at his position in Khalil Whitney, but Keon Brooks is a competitor, man. He's not going to shy away from that competition. And between you and I, Keon Brooks is the better of those two small forwards. So I would imagine I still think it's going to come down to the wire, but I'm just getting the sense that Keon Brooks is going Kentucky. But that's okay. I mean, you've got Harlan Beverly. You've got Trey Mitchell, who Tim brings up. You've got Lester Quinones. So, I mean, the options are there. And I think Archie's got it under control. So I'm just going to sit back and let him do his thing, and hopefully Indiana's able to navigate around it if they're not able to sign Keon Brooks. So we've got to get to a break here. We will come back with a interview with Keith Lander. Got to talk with him yesterday, the father of 5-star Christian Lander. So join us when we get back. You're listening to the Indiana Sports Beat right here. We'll be back after this break.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. And welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for traveling with us here on this midway point of the week. Joined now by our good friend Keith Lander from Evansville area. Keith, obviously the father of Christian Lander, a 5-star recruit out of Evansville Wrights High School. Keith, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. How you fellas doing today?
Good, good. It was a long season. Basketball season still going in Indiana, the tournament season, obviously, but Wrights was knocked out. As so many of the teams were this year, surprising, but a great season for you guys, man, for Christian, and a good year for him.
Yeah, I would say so. A little bit up and down, like I thought. We talked earlier, right before the season started, and I said that I didn't know exactly how it was going to turn out because of the youth. But I mean, we had some rocky times, but at the end of the year, I felt like we started to show that we were making a lot of progress and that they'd be back at least next year ready to go.
Yeah, it's a lot of when you're the guy, and obviously when you have a team or a talent like Christian Lander, you're going to have a big target on your back, and I think it's like something that Indiana deals with when you go places. When you're that name, you're going to get everybody's best shot, and I'm sure that's something that Christian has to start dealing with now. Every gym he goes into, he knows that they know who he is, and he's going to get everybody's best shot.
Definitely. I mean, there were times where they were just making, other teams were just trying to make sure they got the ball out of Christian's hands, knowing that if he was the one that initiated any kind of action on the offensive end, specifically that it'd be a problem. But if they got the ball out of his hands, that would be their best shot to be successful.
Absolutely, and what only being a sophomore, it's a marvelous job because that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of added pressure, not just with the added pressure of what he's going to be facing on the court, because that's going to be ramped up. But actually, when you carry that name, and that comes a lot of pressure mentally. And he seems like he just went through the season just like any other season this year.
Absolutely, I was very proud of the way he handled all the attention and all the craziness that was going on with him this year, something that was new to him and all of us. So I was very, very pleased and proud of the way he handled it this year.
Talking with Keith Lander out of Evansville, father of Christian Lander. One of the things that this year's come about is, Indiana had a streak where they obviously lost 12 of 13 games, just had the injuries just compiled. And if people don't think injuries matter, look at how different this team is now that they're healthy. But when they were going through that, social media was getting set ablaze. As a parent of a recruit, do you pay attention to that stuff, or does it even play in at all? Are you able to ignore that kind of stuff?
Oh, I pay attention as far as being a fan, but not as my son being a recruit. Honestly, that kind of thing is something that is built over time, as far as building that relationship, and things might not be exactly the way you want them to all the time, and at times when he goes to school, they're not going to be always going the way he wants them. So he's got to learn and understand that things, you have to make adjustments. And I guess he's seeing, firsthand that, a team like IU is, come together at the I don't want to say the right time, because it seems like it was a little bit too late, but hopefully they do what they need to do in this Big Ten tournament so they can get an NCAA tournament. But seeing how you can come together as a team and start playing well together.
And is he able to learn also things like, obviously Indiana is a team with a lot of talent. You got a great coach in Archie Miller. Archie Miller did not forget how to coach all of a sudden. The injuries obviously decimated that team, and to see them be able to come back around, is he able to learn from afar from things like that, from what Indiana had to endure this year?
Absolutely, I think so. We have our little talks about when the games happen and what we've seen and what we're seeing different now. Latter part of this season with IU. Honestly, I think he is. I think he definitely is taking notice of what's happening and that he's learning from a lot of different things that's going on, specifically going on with IU.
And it's got to be, again, a lot of pressure for him, not only being this named recruit, but to be a recruit for teams that are recruiting him now, Indiana and Kansas and Michigan, Kentucky, all these teams. Once you get labeled with those teams, man, everywhere you go, it's like the other team has a chip on their shoulder to play you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned before, it's like everybody's, the crowds at the definitely away. When you get on the road, these other teams and other schools are every time he touches the ball, it's some kind of chant that they're doing, or in warm-ups they're giving him a hard time or whatever. But like I said, I was very proud of how he handled all this pressure this year. Honestly, being that young for one, and for two, you can be a pro and that type of pressure get to you. And I was pleased and like I said, proud of the way he handled it this year.
Absolutely. We're talking with Keith Lander, father of Christian Lander, 5-star recruit from Evansville. And how has it helped his game having to deal with all these? Because it's a lot of distraction. It's a lot of distraction being this big-time recruit. It's a lot of distraction being a player who's going to get that kind of attention in every gym that you go in. How has he been able to use that to improve his game?
Just being able to mentally prepare for games. I'm not going to act like that he's just, perfect every time he steps out on the court with how he approaches the game, but you can tell that in different situations he's able to mentally prepare. I just talked to him. It was kind of crazy because I just talked to him yesterday about it, and I was telling him that, the more he develops his mental approach to the game, the more you're going to see his game, start to elevate. Because I feel like that he already really, not already, like he has all the tools, but his tools as far as his skill set are really good. And when he's able to mentally focus every game the same way, you're going to start seeing some things that I won't be surprised, but I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to see. But definitely, I think his mental approach is starting to develop in how he approaches the game with the pressure and how teams attack him.
And do you think it's an advantage for him to have been noticed early on? As a freshman, he just finished his sophomore year, but he got to go through his sophomore year with all this pressure, with all this opportunities to learn and to grow. And do you see that as a bigger advantage for him to have that now, so he can continue to grow these next 2 years of high school before he even gets to college?
Absolutely. I think there's some advantages to it. I'm not going to lie. When we first started going through this, I was a little nervous on how he would react to it. I just have to be completely honest. I didn't know for sure how he would react because, like I said, this is new to him. So he definitely, I think, benefited from, I guess you want to say, quote unquote, like a different stage for him, and understanding the pressure and being able to go through that and learning how to actually deal with that on a night-to-night basis. And I think it's definitely helped him as far as, pressure situations and being able to perform in those situations.
And then as a parent, what have you guys learned going through this experience? Because it's a learning experience for everybody, including you guys, because you're going through all this stuff for the first time with him as you go, and you're there to guide him. But there's a lot for you guys to learn as well.
Absolutely. You just have to be really patient and also not quick to react to everything, because you're hearing everything and you're seeing everything on social media. Everybody has something to say, good and bad, but the bad things is kind of what you unfortunately hear and focus on more than anything, because it's your child, and at the end of the day you don't want anybody talking bad or saying anything in a negative light towards your children. So when you hear stuff like that, it kind of gets to you a little bit, but at the end of the day we've tried our best to be patient and understand that, everybody doesn't know Christian. Like, everybody doesn't know him. So everybody doesn't know what he goes through and what he does on a day-to-day basis. So we just have to, just understand that we know we're trying to do the right thing and everything will work itself out, not worry about all the outside noise and all that stuff that's going on outside.
And we talked about all the pressure and all that stuff, but there's a lot of fun involved too. This stuff, it's got to be a great time. He's getting to go to games. He was just at the Indiana game. You're going up to Michigan recently. Getting to go to these places, it's a lot of. That's got to be a lot of fun in that too. Getting to see some of these environments and be involved in some of these big time games.
Absolutely. I thank him all the time when I'm able to go with him on these visits and these trips, because it's something that I've never seen before, and as a sports fan, I'm in awe also when we get to go to some of these places and places that I've watched as a kid, watching basketball and football games. It's definitely an enjoyable time. I would have to say that at this point of the recruiting process that we're having fun and enjoying the ride so far.
And what's it like when you are at one of these places, a big-time
atmosphere, like in Indiana or in Kansas or in Michigan? And what are some of the differences between those programs and places that you've seen?
It's just an aura about them. You know, when you can step into the gym or out into the stadium, and you can just feel the energy. Honestly, you really can when you go into those places and see how the crowd is backing their teams, and you know, it's just something that you can't really explain it until you've actually gone there and experienced it. But absolutely, it's just an electric atmosphere and definitely enjoyable and fun time right now when we're going on these trips and these visits. Man, it's pretty awesome.
Talking with Keith Lander, what was? Do you remember the first time that you and Christian went to, say, Assembly Hall? Do you remember what his impressions of that was like?
Actually, it was one of the first big time gyms that he went to, as far as being a recruit and being able to, like, I guess you say the first time he went there, he was just kind of like it was done as a favor, like the kids got to go to a game or whatever. Last year when he went to the Duke game, it was done as as hey, we got this kid, he's pretty good, what about him getting up to a game or whatever? It was that type of thing at the beginning, but at the end of the day, I mean, it was something that he was in amazement about. He went to the IU Duke game last year, and he was just in awe about it. He came home and talked about it forever. He still mentions it and talks about it. So, I mean, going in there that first time and being able to experience that atmosphere with, going against Duke and that being a really good game, actually. So, he loves it. He's enjoying it right now, and I'm glad that he's able to. And like I said, with the pressure that comes along, he's got to, be able to enjoy some of this, because, I mean, it would be really bad situation if it was all pressure and everything was bad about it. But he's definitely having a good time, and we are too, as parents and family, going through this process with him.
That's an incredible thing to hear. We're talking with Keith Lander, father of Christian Lander, a 5-star recruit from Evansville. And how is these experiences for Christian? How has he used it to further push himself to be as good as he can be? Because I know that every time you're around these situations and these scenarios and these players, it's got to push you to want to get to that level. And I know that he's a competitor, but how has it helped him in that regard?
Just seeing that actually, some of his dreams and things can come true, because he's actually right there. He just has to maintain and start and begin and continue to get better with every day. Every day he goes out on that court. Every day he goes to a practice. Every day he watches film. Every day he looks at the playbook, that he has to be getting better and starting, and be continuing to learn. He understands that, he doesn't know everything, but at the same time, he's actually seeing that in front of him. He goes to these places. He goes to the locker room and sees some of these guys that, are at a certain level, and he's wanting to definitely get to that level.
As a father, how incredible is it for you to see your son's dreams play out right in front of him, to see all this stuff happen? That's got to be just an amazing thing for you.
Crazy amazing. I think he's had a couple of interviews here and there, and at the end of the day, he always says that, he never thought it would actually come like this, and really not this early, So for that to happen, and it's just amazing to see, and a testament to how, his hard work has paid off, and how he has continued to progress and get better, and all those things, that he comes home, he's sore, and comes home, he's tired, and he still has to do homework, and, he wants to go out with his friends, but, he has to take care of the stuff that he needs to take care of, and it just shows him that, hey, this stuff is paying off, man, and if you continue to do it, it'll continue to pay off.
Absolutely. And then what's the summer going to entail for Christian? And lots of more basketball, I'm sure.
Absolutely. AAU, maybe a couple camps. I don't want to get to doing too much. We just want to make sure that we're doing the right things and trying to pick the right, venues to go to, far as, camps and things like that. definitely it's easier when all those dates have been set. We have a few coming up, but we definitely want to make sure that he's getting his rest also, stepping away from the game just a little bit. I had to actually make him take the week after the sectional loss off. After all said and done, he was happy that he did. He just needed a rest to take a break a little bit. So those things like that, we definitely need to make sure he's doing and not just beat him down with basketball. So definitely a lot of basketball, but at the same time, we're going to make sure we take our time off and him to enjoy his life as a kid and stuff outside of basketball.
I appreciate it, Keith. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. Good luck to you and to Christian the rest of the season.
I appreciate you. Nice talking with you today.
You bet, man. Thank you again. Keith Lander, father of Christian Lander, 5-star recruit from Evansville Wrights High School, joining us today. That's going to wrap it up.
And that was Keith Lander. Thanks to Keith Lander for joining us, as he has in the past as well. Always great to hear from him and to check up on Christian. He's going to be certainly a name to watch in the future as he gets older. He's going to be recruited by a lot of schools, mark my words. So we will be back with more Indiana Sports Beat following this break. Stick with us.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This hour of Indiana Sports Beat is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. With hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
And welcome back here to Indiana Sports Beat on this game day edition, as Indiana's set to take on Ohio State tonight in the Big Ten tournament. Second round, as the 2 games in the first round last night concluded, as it was a Nebraska win as well as an Illinois win over Northwestern. Welcome back here into Indiana Sports Beat. Justin Kalen with you today. Jim Coyle is headed up to the United Center in Chicago to take in that Big Ten tournament, so we allowed him the morning off to drive up there. Actually, his show, he got himself the morning off, so either way, it works out for him, and I'm here doing the show with you. Glad to be here this morning, as it should be a fun ball game here today. I'm really looking forward to this Big Ten tournament. But before we get to that, a couple things I want to touch on. I mentioned in the first segment that Tevin Coleman is signing a 2-year, at least $10 million deal with the San Francisco 49ers, as he will be moving on from the Atlanta Falcons, where he has spent his whole 4-year career thus far. He played in 56 games for Atlanta, 20 of those being starts, as he had 2,300 career rushing yards, over 1,000 receiving yards, 29 career touchdowns. So a heck of a career in Atlanta for Tevin Coleman, as he looks to duplicate that out in San Francisco for the 49ers next fall, and perhaps beyond that, as Tevin Coleman, hats off to him, signing a new deal. Also, one other thing, Bedford North Lawrence head coach Matt Seifers resigns. So I'm going to be interested to pay attention to that. On Bedford North Lawrence, you've got the son of Damon Bailey, Brayton Bailey. Damon was helping coach the boys this past season. Be interesting to see if Damon Bailey gets that job for Bedford North Lawrence, a place where he is extremely comfortable and knows very, very well. Tim texted into the show, did you guys watch the Louisville game? Did not like the moving camera they switched to every once in a while. It made me dizzy. I agree, Tim. I didn't see much of the Louisville game, but I know exactly what you're talking about because they utilized it. One game this weekend I watched, they did that. And you know what else I hate? Not only the moving camera, but the camera on the floor. You've got the overhead camera that you see all the action. You can see exactly what the defenders and the offense is trying to do. And then they go to that stupid floor camera where it's like, yeah, we're going to make you feel like you're a spectator on the sidelines. It sucks. You can't see anything when it comes to that camera. That's the one that I hate more than the moving camera. I can deal with a moving camera, chalk it up to a rookie camera guy, but I cannot deal with the floor camera. I absolutely cannot deal with the floor camera. And then they try to go to the end of the court and do it from time to time as well. Like, we're going to be behind the action and shoot the action on the other side of the floor. That sucks. Leave it how it is. I absolutely, it irks me when they start switching up camera angles. There's no reason for all that. We can watch the whole game in one camera angle because it's the best camera angle. So that's all there is to it. But Indiana in action today against Ohio State. I got to get used to that. It's pretty weird that they're going to play at 12:30 on a Thursday afternoon, but that's what tournament time is. But it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out, what Indiana team shows up. That's what I'm going to be anxious to see. Is it the Indiana team that started and ended the season 16-2, or is it going to be the team in the middle that went 1-13? So that's what I'm going to be paying attention to. I mean, if the good Indiana team shows up, it's going to be a lot of fun. And the fact that it's back in the Midwest is already a lot of fun. You had the Washington, D.C. year. You had the New York last year. I get it. I mean, I get what they're trying to do in terms of busting into those TV markets. But the fans the last 2 years, not good. Not good at all. Those fans last night at Northwestern Illinois and Rutgers, Nebraska, I feel like there was already more fans there in just those 2 games than there were in the entirety of the tournament last year. Now, that's probably an extreme fabrication, not the case at all. But 502-414-1450 is the text line if you want to get involved with the show like Tim has a number of times this morning. 502-414-1450. And speaking of the Big Ten tournament being back in the Midwest, Archie Miller was actually asked about that on the coach's show the other night, just how nice it is to be back in the Midwest where, to be quite frank with you, the Big Ten should always be.
Without question, you got the drivable distances for most of your schools, whether it's Chicago or Indianapolis. To me, Indianapolis is the best place to play the Big Ten tournament, and I didn't say that just because I'm at Indiana. You know, I felt like when I was an assistant in this league that Bankers Life is the best basketball setting, and Indianapolis sort of brings the Big Ten in there. You know, with their they just do a great job of hosting it, and it's a great environment. You know, the United Center I'm sure will be good too. Being in Chicago is obviously great for the kids to be in Chicago over the tournament. Our families of our guys most of them probably have a lot easier access to be able to see the tournament and enjoy it. You know, it's tough in New York City. You know, it's a great place to play the game, but it's also very, very difficult, you know, when you're, in the Midwest and you have so many of your family members who can't see the tournament. You know, that's a little bit difficult, but I'm happy it's in Chicago. The United Center is a great venue, great city, and, it should be exciting.
Coach. And there was Archie Miller talking about the Big Ten tournament being back in the Midwest. Brought up a lot of good points there, most notably being when it's in the Midwest, a lot more of the team's families can actually show up for the tournament. Now, New York, I guarantee Devontae Green's family was there. Actually, I know they were. He had a lot of family and friends at the Big Ten tournament last year. But that's it. I mean, nobody else from the East Coast. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to play it there. So, got some more sound from Archie talking about early tournament games in terms of time, like 12:30. Let's hear what he had to say about that.
Tournament.
Early meaning early in the day?
I think so.
I think the one thing is, I always say this, when you play an early game, and we've just played back-to-back weekend games that have been very early, when you win that game, it's the greatest feeling in the world because you get to basically watch the highlights of yourself all day long. You lose that game, you're not watching very much at all. But I think I don't think there's an advantage at all in postseason play to be in a late game or an early game. I just think, there's so much adrenaline going on, there's so much at stake that you would hope to think you don't really have to motivate anybody to be ready to go. But, these games for us in the slot that we're in, I mean, it's almost like I think 11:30, and 12 noon. So our guys are going to have to go to bed, and they're going to have to get up and eat, like 6:30, 7 o'clock, I guess. But they'll be ready to go in the games. And like I said, if you do win, you get all day in the hotel to kind of relax. Your staff kind of gets to work and kind of brings them back down maybe one or two more times for some film and walkthrough. And this point of time of year, you are who you are. You just hope that you're feeling good and you're confident and you're playing really hard. And the good things can happen if that happens.
That was Archie talking about this team, and Jim Coyle texting in, correcting me. New York last year was sold out. That's actually really surprising. I was not aware of that, so thanks, Jim. He will be on next segment, by the way, at our 7 o'clock hour, so it'll be good to hear from him. It wouldn't be Indiana Sports Beat without hearing from Jim Coyle and his thoughts on what the game might entail here today. A couple other pieces of sound to get to. De'Ron Davis. With this game today, everybody knows what's at stake. Every Hoosier fan knows Indiana has to win today to keep them tournament hopes alive. And they may even have to win tomorrow. Not sure. Nobody really knows what's going on in terms of what they have to do. Let's hear from De'Ron Davis talking about the pressure of trying to make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I feel like it fuels us, gives us something to work for, like a goal. But, I mean, like any team, we all want to make the tournament, especially for our seniors that haven't been there since freshman or sophomore year. So, yeah, like I said, we just, we working every day to get to that point, and, we're just going to take one game at a time and take it each war at a time.
So pretty much the same mindset the team has had the past 3-4 weeks now, just one game at a time. And you heard De'Ron mention we want to do it for our seniors. We want to get them into the NCAA tournament because they haven't done so. Juwan Morgan hasn't been in the NCAA tournament since his freshman year. So for that reason alone, you'd like to see this team get into the tournament, send Juwan out on a positive note. That's what you need to see. But De'Ron also talked about the team right now, and if they are the team that they thought they could be heading into this season.
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like, we started off hot and came into a little slump, and coach just kept pressing. Like, you never know how teams can how things can switch for teams. He's always been saying, like, teams start out hot and cool off and never pick it back up. Teams stay hot or teams waver. And he said we've been going up and down, and we're playing our best ball right now, so we just got to keep with it and keep competing in practice.
So there you have it. Team is playing the best ball right now. They're hearing that from head coach Archie Miller. A lot of confidence, it seems, going around in that Indiana program right now. Going to be interested to see how it turns out today. There's a lot of things that I'm going to be paying attention to, most notably Caleb Wesson coming back for Ohio State. I really think that makes a huge difference for Ohio State. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. The bigs for Indiana are going to have to work a little bit harder today than they would have had to had Wesson not been brought back into the fold. And how unfortunate is it for Indiana, but it's almost that's the season it's been, that they're going to get to face Caleb Wesson, then they win that game. They've got to go on and face Nick Ward, who's also coming back. So Indiana's next two opponents have a huge impact player joining back into the fold, and it's going to be tough for Indiana. There's no question about it. I'm going to just be interested to see how it plays out. But in terms of the bye for the tournament, I think that really helped the team. They did get that one day off, or a number of days off, actually, but not having to play yesterday, yeah, it would have been great. We talked about it, to play on that first day because you're giving yourself an extra chance at a win. But not having to play that game has its benefits as well. Archie was actually asked this about having a bye in the NCAA tournament. Let's hear what he had to say.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to win that many games in a row. It gets you off of that Wednesday game. We'll be playing, it seems like Saturday or Thursday morning, at 11:30 Central Time. That's an early tip. But, you have to be excited to be in the United Center. You have to be excited to be in Chicago. This is a great time of year for basketball and college basketball in general. And if you're in that mix and you're in that talking pot right now, that's where you want to be, and that's where we are. Playing Ohio State, who gets big Caleb Wesson back, so we'll get a different team than they've had the last three games. And as hard as they made it in game one on us, I'm sure they're going to make it as hard as it is in game two. And you got two teams clearly playing for a lot, and I think both teams are different than they were. We're a lot different than we were the first time we played them, and they'll be a lot different than they were the last three as they had their best player.
So there you have it. Archie Miller talking about that bye in the tournament. It's hard to win the Big Ten tournament when you don't have a bye. So that one bye game, I think, really could pay dividends for this team. They could go out and win it. It's not going to be easy, though. It's not going to be easy. So make sure you hit us up on the text line, 502-414-1450. We've got Chronic Hoosier coming up today. Lance Stemler will join us as well as we talk Indiana basketball and break down this Big Ten tournament. Really excited to talk to Lance just about the pressure of playing in this Big Ten tournament and what it means when you need to win at least one game, maybe two, to get into the NCAA tournament. Lance is a guy that knows that. and what that entails. So we will be back with more Indiana Sports Beat. I'll have Jim Coyle joining me next. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break.
Walking through the streets of Soho in the rain, he was looking for the place called Lee Ho Fooks. Gonna get a big dish of beef chow mein.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must all...
Yeah, come along. Another edition of Indiana Sports Beat on this game day edition here. March 14th, 2019, as we get set for what should be a pretty good second hour here, as Chronic Hoosier and Lance Stimler will join us. Chronic Hoosier about 7:20. Lance will be on about 7:40 as we get set to talk Indiana basketball as the Big Ten tournament underway today as Indiana set to take on Ohio State, as it should be a fun ball game. Lots to get to today. Make sure you hit us up on the text line, 502-414-1450, and we'll get into all of it. But first, let's get into the headlines. And here are your Daily Hoosier headlines on this 14th day of March 2019. As the Power Five all began their conference tournaments yesterday. In Big Ten action, Nebraska defeats Rutgers 68-61. as they advance to take on Maryland today. And in the second game last night, Illinois defeats Northwestern 74-69, as Illinois will now move on to play Iowa tonight. Former Hoosier Tevin Coleman signs a 2-year, up to $10 million deal with the 49ers. Those are Look at Your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 14th day of March 2019. For more information, make sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com. Justin Kalen here with you this morning. Jim Coyle headed up to United Center in Chicago, as we might hear from him here in a bit. We'll see, as he's on the road, headed up to Chicago early this morning, as he's set to take in the Big Ten tournament, and a tournament finally back in the Midwest. It's in Chicago this year, so imagine the crowd numbers to be up, although it was a sellout last year. And I'd actually completely forgotten that it was a week earlier last year also. So not only was it in New York, far away from everything, but it was a week earlier. Glad to see the Big Ten tournament back on schedule, as it is back where it is supposed to be. A lot of people feel that this Big Ten tournament needs to take place in the Midwest. It's right the middle central hub of all the teams. And yeah, like I said, I get it. I understand why they would try to go to New York and Washington, D.C., get those TV markets, get those fans out there a little bit more involved, but back in the Midwest. So Chicago this year, I believe it is in Indy next year. So coming back home. A couple of texts into the show if you want to get involved as well. 502-414-1450. As Joker texts in, says, I heard yesterday on a show that one of the guys predicting the NCAA field had IU in and playing in Dayton. How good would that be? Be good? Dayton, a place Archie Miller's certainly comfortable. But if Indiana does not defeat Ohio State today, that's not going to be the case. They absolutely have to win. This is a must-win game. And I was thinking about it earlier. I'm hoping that the fact that this is a must-win game, that doesn't get to the team. You know, sometimes when you got a must-win game, it's easy to go into the game and falter. Never daunted, we cannot falter. Those words have never been truer than they are today. We cannot falter. Then you're looking at an NIT game or an NIT tournament run, what have you. Now, I did see a number of people online last night saying, well, I would be okay with an NIT bid because we get to host games. No. You're Indiana University. Or as all the ESPN guys like to say, University of Indiana. You're not okay going to the NIT. When there's an opportunity within this season to go to the NCAA tournament and you're going to sit there and say that you're okay going to the NIT tournament, that's ludicrous. Why would you ever want to go to the NIT when there's an opportunity to go to the big tournament? It doesn't make sense. Now, was it a lot of fun last year watching the Indiana women's team roll through that NIT tournament, continue to have home games, and eventually win the dang thing? Yeah, it was a heck of a lot of fun. Do I want to see that with this men's team? No. No, I don't. Do I think they could probably roll through the tournament and win the dang thing? Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to see that. 3 straight years of not making the NCAA tournament? Seriously? You're Indiana University. Now, I get it. It's not the same Indiana University it has been throughout history. But, yeah, Joker, that'd be great. Playing in Dayton, you're close. You would think that would get a number of Indiana fans an opportunity to head up and watch that game, but who they playing? What seed are they? That makes a big difference. So, and these are all just predictions. Bracketologists have their rhyme and reason for doing everything. So we're just going to have to wait till Sunday. But I can promise you one thing. If Indiana beats Ohio State today, comes back tomorrow and beats Michigan State, they're in. No questions asked. they are in the NCAA field. And Tim texted in, says, it's a must-win game for both teams. Hopefully we want it more. Yeah, Tim, you're right. Absolutely it is. And that's going to be a factor as well. How bad does Ohio State want it? They need this win. They're playing for their NCAA tournament life, 18-13 on the year. Now, they don't have the wins that Indiana does, so I think it's a little more necessary for Indiana to win this game as opposed to Ohio State. Even if Ohio State wins, this isn't a big win for them. It'd be a nice win. Keeps their hopes alive, gets them up to 19-13. And you're getting a little more, okay, we can put you in the tournament record ready. So, yeah, you're right, Tim. Absolutely a lot on the line for both teams. That's what's going to make this fun. That's what's going to make this fun. Tim also texts in, says, saw we got a quarterback named Grant Grimmel from Noblesville. He is a preferred walk-on. Do you know anything about him? I don't personally, Tim, no. I had saw that yesterday, but I don't know much about him. And I don't know why it matters. I mean, you've got 3 quarterbacks on the football roster. As I believe we have Jim Coyle on the line now. Jim, you there?
Yo, you betcha.
What's up?
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I was telling the listeners it wouldn't be a day of Indiana Sports Beat without hearing from you and your opinions on this Indiana team today.
Well, a good team and a good opportunity as they are playing now in Chicago in the Big Ten tournament, as that is well underway. A couple of games last night, as I'm sure Justin told you about. But today is a win or a go-home situation for either Indiana or Ohio State, to be honest with you, because Ohio State is parked on that last 4 in the bracketology by most people's standards right now. So if they can't afford a loss to Indiana, just like Indiana cannot afford a loss to Ohio State.
Right. And you got Indiana, they're right on that bubble as well. I think last I saw, first 4 out. So, yeah, you're right. Both teams right there in this game.
So they even deserve to be on the number 1 seed line because I'm not sold on their strength of schedule. They don't play anybody.
Right. And I was talking to somebody about that earlier this week. When it comes to Gonzaga, if they're in a Power 5 conference, I have a whole different respect for them. But playing the Pepperdines, the Pacifics, the San Franciscos of the world doesn't do it for me.
Exactly, me either, and I think that it shows out. I mean, they lost to a team that is not very good, and they didn't just lose; they had it handed to them. So then you had Jay Billis on yesterday talking about Wofford. Well, Wofford has lost to several teams by a substantial amount of points. So it's just a funky season, man. But the bit stealers are important because if too many of them jump up and you start knocking people out, and the people that get knocked out are the teams like Indiana who are on that fine line to get in to begin with.
Yeah. Hey, and I brought up a stat earlier: 16-2, Indiana, the team that started and ended the season. In the middle, they were 1-13. Which team shows up today?
I'm going with the former. I don't think that team that had lost all those games, I think that it's gone. They're healthy for one thing. That is a huge part of it. And they're able to bring different bodies in. And when those bodies come in, they're healthy and ready to go. They're playing with confidence. And they're playing with a purpose. They know what's on the line. Yeah. This is Romeo's one and only season, man. He doesn't want to go home. Juwan Morgan, I heard you mention it, hadn't played in the tournament since he was a freshman. These guys want a taste of this. Yeah. So I fully expect to see the team that you have been seeing, the team that is playing very well, that is a team that has gotten back to playing good defense and good enough offense because of that defense. The Indiana's offense is completely predicated on their defense. If they're having a good defensive day, their offense is going to be good enough usually, and that entails whether or not they hit enough three-point shots. In the last game, they didn't hit a lot of three-point shots, but their offense was good enough because their defense was good enough. And that's what they're going to have to follow through today because they're not a three-point shooting team. Right. When that happens, that's great. When they hit 9 or 10 three-pointers, they're unbeatable because they're not a three-point shooting team. And if they're doing that too, you're in big trouble. Yeah. But they've got to play good, solid defense, and that will lead to good offense and usually good enough for them to get to win.
Absolutely. And there's been a lot of talk about Caleb Wesson. We've touched on it a number of times this week. How big of a factor do you think he plays today for Ohio State?
It's big because he's one of the best players. He's a player that posts up in the middle for him, and that's an area where Indiana gives a lot of teams trouble, as you saw what Juwan Morgan did last week. So it is big to have one of your best players back, especially one that does what he can do. Yeah. But I still think that if Indiana plays like they've been playing, they're a better team than Ohio State.
Yeah. How's the traveling going?
Not bad. A little rain outside, but it's not bad at all.
Headed up to the land of cold.
Land of coal?
Cold.
Oh, the land of coal. Yeah, the Windy City.
The Windy City. There you go. All right, Jim. Well, I'm going to let you go. Got to get Chronic on. Thanks for joining us, and good to hear from you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Well, absolutely. I have a full report from the Big Ten tournament. Indiana taking on Michigan State, or taking on Ohio State today.
I like where your head's at.
That's what I'm thinking. Y'all have a great day.
All right, we'll see you, buddy. That was Jim Coyle. Thanks to Jim for joining us as he is headed up to the United Center to take in that Big Ten tournament. Watch some Hoosiers today try to defeat Ohio State. That's going to be a really, really fun game. We'll talk to Chronic Hoosier about it. That'll be coming up next, so make sure you stick around. We've got more Indiana Sports Beat coming up right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
All my friends will go rider.
Yeah, y'all know what that sound means. As we got Chronic Hoosier joining us today on a Thursday edition of Indiana Sports Beat. Weird having Chronic on a Thursday, but here he is. Some travel issues postponed him later this week. Chronic, how are you, man?
Man, we couldn't have picked a better day to pick it back up, though. I'll say that much.
Absolutely. Big Ten tournament set to get underway today for Indiana as they take on Ohio State. A 12:30 start in what should be a really fun game at the United Center today. Chronic, what are your initial thoughts waking up this morning about this Indiana basketball team?
Man, until you said it, I completely forgot there's a basketball game today. I was honestly just stoked it's patio season in Bloomington. The weather has turned. The outdoor dining is back open and on the table. It's honestly my favorite time of the year. But now that you mention it, having all of this coincide with the onset of the Big Ten tournament, the second season for Indiana, if you will, everything hangs in the balance today for Indiana. I think by most regards. This is truly a play-in game, not just for Indiana, but for both teams. Indiana and Ohio State both kind of precariously positioned on the bubble. Most bracketologists, I think, have Indiana pretty squarely in right now. Ohio State, having lost 6 out of their last 8 to close the season, two very similar resumes, but two teams trending in totally opposite directions at the moment. So it shapes up to be a really, really good game, at least just as the stakes, the inherent drama in this particular game. With so much hanging in the balance for both teams right now.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought up the weather. Something about almost 70 degrees outside just makes it feel like a little bit more March Madness time, so I enjoy that as well. This team, Chronic, they have an opportunity to do something special with the type of season they've had. You talk about some of their wins they've had. They've had really good wins, not a whole lot of bad losses. If they're able to win today and get over Ohio State and somewhat play competitive with Michigan State, I agree with you. I think they're probably in the tournament, and I think this team could really do something special in the tournament.
It's just wild to think about. Yeah. For Indiana to find themselves in this position now. Obviously, they have been playing the best basketball of the season here as of late. You really saw. Following the Michigan State game, they were really competitive against Iowa. The Ohio State game, the first one was an absolute rock fight. It wasn't necessarily beautiful basketball, but it was two teams just gouging each other's eyes out for 40 minutes. And then there was the clunker in Minnesota. And the way this team's been able to reset itself, kind of pull itself back together. Sounds like there was a very candid conversation in the locker room following the Minnesota loss. And you saw the team respond. Incredibly tough performance against Purdue, taking Iowa to overtime on the road, and then to string together 4 wins to close it out. They're trending as strong as they have all year, and not even just trending. It's some of the smartest basketball, some of the hardest basketball we've seen them play. Not coincidentally, the Illinois and the Rutgers game. Those have been 2 of the 4 most efficient offensive performances for the Hoosiers. Turnovers have been, the Rutgers game was the best turnover percentage Indiana had in the season, second only to the Illinois game. Well, the Illinois game coming in second. So the backcourt really starting to gel, starting to play really smart, efficient basketball. Archie's got the offense firing all cylinders right now, and I think most fans would agree this is exactly what you want to see from a team, is playing your best at the end of the season. And I talked to a couple of one former Indiana coach, a legend as a matter of fact, Jerry Yeagley last week, and then he talked to another current coach, one of Indiana's varsity teams here this week. And one thing that both of them hinted on or discussed separately was how confident this team is playing, and just how critically important confidence is. It's contagious. It builds. It spreads. It really allows teams to gel together and make that full potential more easily actualized when everybody believes in the common goal and their ability to get there. And I think you're seeing that in this Indiana basketball team right now. They're playing some really fun basketball, and it couldn't have happened at a better time for them.
Yeah, and Devontae Green the other night on Inside Indiana Basketball with Don Fisher was talking about that confidence and just how in the middle portion of the season the confidence had gone astray. Now it has come back. I'll throw this stat at you as well. 16-2 this team at the beginning and the end of the season. 1-13 in the middle, and confidence, I would imagine, has a big thing to do with that. And man, what I wouldn't have give to be a fly on the wall after that Minnesota game to see what was said amongst the players.
Oh no, absolutely. They went to a really bad place for a long time. one of the things that was most obvious is the body language, pretty much across the roster. Nobody looked like they were having a whole lot of fun together. It was not a very enjoyable experience during that stretch. And just to see the kind of the joy return, I mean, honestly, guys smiling, it's the positive energy around this team seems to be infectious right now. I don't think you could ask for a game with this type of significance, with this type of importance. I don't think you could ask for the team in a better state mentally with so much on the line today is what we've seen from them. And I mean, here's a stat for you as well. They say it's a long-held axiom. Good teams win, great teams cover. Your Hoosiers are coming into the second season 6-0 against the spread right now. So I'm not saying they're playing the best basketball of the year, but Vegas is.
I like it. So take your money and bet on the game. Talking to Chronic Hoosier here on this Thursday. As Chronic, we've had a lot of up and downs in terms of the fan base this season, whether it be social media, whether it be actually at the game. A lot of up and downs. What's the importance of this team making the NCAA tournament for the sake of the fans?
How much the fans matter. This Indiana fans are just a unique wild breed, man. They are some of the most passionate in the country. Along those lines, though, they're probably some of the most reactive in the country as well. I had a notion earlier in the week I was going to dig up some of the old tweets that found their way into my timeline, that were criticizing, looking at two coaches who were both brought in the same coaching cycles, and Chris Holtmann and Archie Miller, and just how quickly the tides turn as far as fan perception of them. Some of the comments I heard comparing the two against one another. I'm not going to lie, some people really showed their asses with some of the things they said during that stretch. But it's interesting, though, as we fast forward here to the end of the season. I'd love to take a poll and see who would rather have each of those two coaches running their teams right now as of today. I think it's been a remarkable turnaround by Archie Miller and his staff in order to get everybody refocused. But I think it also just highlights how difficult, how challenging, and how honestly time-consuming it can be to turn a program over, to really instill a different type of culture, every time there's a coaching change. New staff comes in, new priorities, new strategies and tactics. And at the end of the day, you've got to translate all that change into a pre-existing unit. And, slowly over time through recruiting, kind of finding guys that play more your style basketball. So, I think you see two coaches who in their sophomore seasons, we get a glimpse of how they want to play, but you still see them often struggling to get it implemented to the degree which they want to see their respective programs playing.
Now, Chronic,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Where does that lack of patience come from the Indiana fan base? I mean, it hasn't always been the most patient fan base, but certainly hasn't had the lack of patience that we've seen this year. I mean, they gave Tom Crean time, they gave Mike Davis time. I mean, why so much hate on Archie after not even 2 years of being a head coach?
Right, that may not even be the most accurate statement. I think Mike Davis, there are a lot of folks who wanted to see him go before he ever even unpacked his head coaching bag. And, there was a minority that felt the same about Tom. And I think one thing about social media is it often kind of exacerbates or it amplifies not necessarily the most popular messages, but makes them seem as though they have more credibility than what they actually do. Some of the stuff I see, some of the people that scream the loudest seem to be some of those that know the least about what they're talking about. So I think you have to take a lot of that with a grain of salt. But, more to the point of the question, I think where does that expectation level come from? I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's Indiana. This is one of the few schools in the nation who can rightfully wear the badge basketball school across its chest. This is what most Hoosiers live and breathe. It's the flagship sport. It's the state's flagship school. In a state that is renowned for its love and proficiency in the game of basketball. So there's certainly a lot that goes with coaching Indiana basketball, playing for Indiana basketball, at least as far as upholding that mantle, those traditions. And, I think probably one of the root causes of all the frustrations is the perception doesn't necessarily line up with the reality for the Indiana fans that still believe IU is a blue blood basketball school, at least when you look at their record over the last 20 years. One Final Four in the last 20 years. Pair of Sweet 16s as of late, but there really hasn't been the success to match the resume, the pedigree, the budget even. Indiana still spends like they're an elite basketball program. And I think, for all those reasons and then some, Indiana fans expect them to perform at an elite level. So it comes with the territory whenever you put that Indiana on your chest.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one thing I've thrown caution into the wind, be patient with this team. That's all I ask of the fans. Tim texted into the show. He said, I think Wesson comes back and disrupts the team chemistry, being out 3 games. 3 of their last 6 losses he was playing anyways. Any thoughts on that, Chronic?
At this point, that's the thing about tournament time, whether it's an injury, whether it's somebody returning from injuries, whether it's foul troubles, throw all that stuff out the window. These teams are both going to play fairly tight rotations at the end of the day. It's not so much who's on the floor at any given time as much as your ability to exert dominance over them. And the same could be true for Michigan State if they have the chance to play them tomorrow. You look at the way they matched up in East Lansing at first when they had a little bit more players available to them, and then how it worked out in Bloomington later on. At the end of the day, man, no matter who's out there, Indiana's got to go out there and run their stuff. They got to keep the ball moving on offense. They have to continue to stay committed to this defense. And probably more than anything, they got to continue to play hard, smart basketball because for a team that has, so many things, so much potential to it, there's also a lot of liabilities involved. And one of the ways in which they've been able to kind of get the ship righted here lately has just been by not beating themselves, by limiting turnovers, by making the most out of every possession, offense and defensively, but using that defense to turn into some offense, getting out into fast break, into transition, really opening things up. I think if you look at the micro level, how does Wesson affect this game? Indiana has had a lot of success lately, in no small part to the fact that they've been able to get the offense started earlier in the shot clocks. They've been able to get the ball into the post. They've actually gotten really, really creative in the ways of which they're able to make those post-entry passes. So I think more than anything, just not letting anybody who's out there, whether it be Wesson or anybody else on Ohio State, stop them from doing what they're trying to do offensively. And, from the onset, that's going to be getting the ball inside, the guard staying in an attacking mentality, getting to the rim. Not only have they had 2 of the 4 most efficient performances as of late, but they've had 2 of the 4 highest free throw rates of the season. And I think that's going to be critical for Indiana again today and beyond if they make it in this tournament is the ability to continue to get to the line and, take some of those uncontested jump shots.
Absolutely. So we'll see how it plays out. Tomorrow is the 15th of March, meaning tomorrow is Keon Brooks Day. That decision, I believe, will take place about 8 o'clock. Do you have any thoughts on Keon Brooks, Chronic?
Man, it's going to be a big day for Indiana tomorrow in the event they're able to pull this one out today. More than anything, I wish the kid well. I can't imagine what it's like. It's honestly unfathomable what these kids go through in today's day and age of social media and these high-profile recruiting, sagas, if you will. He's going to have to make the decision that's best for him and his family. I know Kentucky's been coming on really strong as of late, which they have been known to do over the years. But you know what? I can remember a couple of kids who a lot of folks thought were dead set for Kentucky to begin with, and they ended up turning for Indiana. So we'll see where it all shakes out when he lets us all in on the big secret. The one thing I would say, folks, don't tweet at recruits. Don't do it. Don't do it ever. Don't do it tomorrow. Don't do it any day after that. Just don't tweet at teenagers. Let the kid and his family enjoy their moment. Wish him well. If he chooses Indiana, all the more to him. If he chooses someplace else, you know what? That just means that we have somebody else to turn our eyes to and, see how the next version of the Indiana Hoosiers are going to look come the fall of 2019.
That's a statement I don't think can be said enough, Chronic. Don't tweet at recruits. I mean, if you want to do it positively, sure, that's one thing, but don't tweet at recruits. I mean, their parents are going to see that. That ultimately affects recruiting, does it not?
No, it does. And, that's one thing I think Indiana fans lose sight of is, yes, they're crazy passionate about it, but sometimes that crazy passion can come off a little bit weird to some folks. So, I've heard more than a couple stories of people being turned off by the way in which these rabid fan bases respond online. Some of the kids love it. Some of the kids are a little freaked out by it. Just be mindful of that in general. It is an NC2A recruiting violation. I don't think the NC2A has any inclination whatsoever to start policing, the interwebs, especially things like Twitter. But at the end of the day, it's still a violation. So that, and it's creepy as hell. So don't do it. Just don't tweet recruits.
The one thing I don't understand is what do people think is going to happen if they recruit or tweet at recruits? I mean, do you think what you send is going to make them change their mind? Not likely.
No, and I get the understanding, or I get the impression that some folks may have that whenever anybody says anything, you constantly want your school represented in that kid's timeline. Occasionally you look at the comments, and I honestly, like, the overwhelming majority of it is just positive. They're sending gifts, they're sending emoji dots and whatnot. But the ones that want to spout off and give advice or chastise or any of that, it's totally pointless. It's stupid white noise. Just don't do it. Be better than that, people. Yeah. Seriously.
So say Keon Brooks does not pick Indiana tomorrow. Do you think there's a backup plan firmly in place, whether it's Harlan Beverly or Trey Mitchell or Lester Quinones? Do you think Archie Miller's got the plan ready if Keon decides he wants to go to Kentucky?
Oh, I have no doubt whatsoever. I have no doubt whatsoever. I think the big question would be which direction they turn. Are they going to prioritize another big? Are they looking at a wing? Are they looking for shooting or ball handling? I mean, this team is going to have some similar depth issues next season, particularly in the backcourt that they face throughout the year this year, which obviously, as we've seen, can make them a little susceptible to injury. One thing they don't have or won't have a shortage of next year are going to be bigs, particularly wings. That's something this team's going to have in abundance. Hopefully the return of Jerome Hunter, Justin Smith. We've got there's kind of an embarrassment of riches coming back for Archie next year, at least as for front court players. So more than anything, I'd be curious to see what direction he goes as far as what types of bodies is he most interested in pulling in. He's still got the Trendon Watford floating out there as well. So I mean, I'm not sure where it's going to go, man. I really have tried to stay away from the recruiting, at least in depth, ever since the movement back in the earlier part of this decade. Because at the end of the day, man, it's all great and it's all something else to read, to kind of fill in the space in between games, particularly during the off season. But at the end of the day, till those kids actually enroll, till they get on campus, till they are, till they get some time in Cook Hall and have the ability to earn the minutes that, they're promised and that people discuss in the recruiting section. All of it is for naught until they get here and really show that, what type of player they're going to be at the college level. So, it's certainly going to be interesting to see. I will say, Archie's already 2-0 against Tom Izzo this year, and don't forget Sparty's still right up in this thing and leading me in with Keon as well. I know most of the analysts believe Kentucky's moving to the forefront. I know his edits have now replaced Michigan State with UNC, but if he does pull it out, I'm still chalking that one up as a win for Archie against Izzo this season.
Absolutely. So we will see how it plays out. Chronic, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. Enjoy Indiana basketball. We've got a 12:30 tip-off. Going to be interesting midweek. Early game. Gotta love it.
Yeah, don't expect, if you're in a managerial position in the state of Indiana or the Midwest for that matter, I wouldn't expect a whole lot as far as office productivity over the next couple afternoons, and that's just a precursor for what's to come next week. So let the madness commence, man. It's time. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Chronic. Have a great day, man.
You too. Thanks, man.
All right, that was Chronic Hoosier, brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry. So thanks to Reynolds and Chronic Hoosier for joining us today, and we will be back with Lance Stemler, former Indiana basketball player, after this break. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
And welcome back here to Indiana Sports Beat on this Thursday, March 14th, as we get set for a game day edition. As Indiana set to take on Ohio State today at 12:30. We will have Lance Stemler coming up here shortly, but right now I've got Indiana Mike. Indiana Mike, how you doing today, man?
Fine, you?
I'm doing fantastic. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, I was told last night that, that Romeo's already got agent already.
Romeo?
Yep.
What, during practice or?
He's got a special training helping him right now. Training gear. He said he's gone.
Interesting. Well, that changes everything. I'm no disrespect, Indiana Mike, but I'm hoping you're wrong on that.
Yeah, hey, I was hoping that Keon Brooks was coming to, and Davis was coming out. All three of them.
Yeah.
The Brooks and Davis and was staying, but I was told last night by his personal trainer that he's gone.
Gotcha. What about Keon Brooks? What have you heard about that, Indiana Mike?
Well, my good source told me he's in the UK.
UK.
But if Romeo stayed, Jackson and Brooks would go UK. I like to see it, you know what I'm saying? But it's not going to happen.
Right.
I know. I mean, I love IU. I mean, I coached AU ball players up there for 12 years.
Now, when you say Romeo's out, you mean hurt or he's for sure leaving Indiana?
He's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone to IU.
Gotcha. Okay. I had misunderstood you at first, and I thought you were telling me that he's injured. And that would not be good news for today against Ohio State.
No. I think India has to win today. If they don't win, they're out.
Right. Absolutely. No, I'd agree with that, Indiana, Mike. All right, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for calling in today, Mike.
You hear more about any more recruits?
Say it again.
Any more recruits coming to IU? You hear?
There's a number of names floating out there. You got guys like Harlan Beverly, Lester Quinones, Trey Mitchell's a guy that's popped up on the radar yesterday or so. So yeah, there's options if Keon decides to spurn Indiana.
I like him to stay, but my source told me he's gone.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. Mike, thanks for the call today, man.
Thank you. See you.
So Indiana Mike joining us today, as we should have Lance Stimler coming up here in the next couple of minutes to talk about Indiana basketball. A huge day for Indiana basketball as they get set to take on Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament, and according to Indiana Mike, could be Romeo's last game. We'll see. I mean, everybody pretty much was under the assumption that Romeo was going to leave at the conclusion of this season regardless. So I'm not sure how much that surprises me, but the Keon Brooks situation for tomorrow, and I've heard Kentucky for pretty much all week now. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. There's a lot of things that are going into this Keon Brooks situation that it just seems a little fishy. Doing it in Indiana, opening it to the public, that screams, I'm going to Indiana. But you hear all the pundits talking about it, it's Kentucky. I don't know. We'll see. Romeo did the whole open gym, open to the public type deal, and he chose Indiana, but he also was a completely different beast. I mean, this Romeo was idolized by so many here in the New Albany area. Had he been able to go into that gym and say, I'm going to Kansas or I'm going to Vanderbilt, it wouldn't have been a good situation. And I think the same with Keon. I mean, granted, you're in northern Indiana, but they're still crazy about the Hoosiers up there. Keon comes into that gym tomorrow night and says, I'm going to Kentucky. Could get a little hostile. I mean, you would hope not. You'd hope that everybody will wish him well as he moves on to the next phase of his life. I mean, either way, he grew up a Hoosier. So you would like to think that would take some precedent over wanting to berate him for not picking what you wanted him to pick. So, Jim Coyle on his way to Chicago, hence why you've got me, Justin Kalen, on this morning. As TJ Walker texts in, says, Romeo stinks. Now, TJ, you know that's not the truth, not one bit. Not one bit. I mean, I wish he did stink so he would come back for another year. But nonetheless, it's not going to happen. But a big game day for Indiana, as like I said, Jim traveling up to the United Center to watch that action, as it should be a fun day. As we've got Lance Stimler, should be calling in soon. Think I've got Lance on the line now. Lance, how are you?
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How are you today?
Wonderful. It's Jim Coyle.
Oh, Jim Coyle. This is not Lance. That's why. See, when you do solo radio, you just gotta put it through. Jim, how's the driving going?
Well, I understood that Lance is having a little trouble, so I would try to fill in for him.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Keon, there's a big decision coming up tomorrow, and I heard you talking about Kentucky and the open gym thing. Here's the big difference, though. He's not doing it in his high school or high school. This is his old middle school where he's making this announcement. So
right.
This is not in it's an entirely different situation. And as you mentioned, Romeo was worshipped by the folks there in southern Indiana. And it's not going to have the same crowd. I mean, there was a huge crowd at Romeo's announcement. There was, 2,500 people. There won't be 100 people at Keon's probably, maybe.
I disagree with that.
It's at his middle school. Who's going to go to his announcement?
I don't know. I don't know that it matters where it's at. I mean, it's the fact that Keon's making a decision. He'll have well over 100 people there.
Okay, 2,500 people were at Romeo's, 90% of which, 99% were Indiana fans.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference, big difference. You're not going to have this ton of people at this announcement and these ton of Indiana fans waiting with bated breath because they already don't think that's the decision. They already think the decision's going the opposite way. So his doing him and his in public is not as big a deal to me as when Romeo did it.
Well, I think the fact that the Indiana's fans, look, we've talked about it at length this season. There's a lot of ignorant fans out there. So just because you and I are sitting here thinking, and we read all the time that Keon's going to go to Kentucky, that doesn't mean that there's not a ton of other Indiana fans out there that still have the impression that Keon will ultimately decide Indiana tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that that's the case. Just everything is pointing in a different direction for that. And we'll find out tomorrow. There's no sense in getting all broke up about it. It is what it is. But everything is pointing towards Kentucky. It doesn't mean a lot because everybody thought that DJ Carton was going one place and he ended up another.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, recruits what's in their head is what's in their head, and we ultimately don't know. We can speculate on where they're going. We can speculate what they're dealing with to decide where they're going. But at the end of the day, it's their decision, and they're going to make the one that's best for them.
And I heard your caller talking about Romeo. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, he is definitely gone. There's not even a question here. He's still listed as a top 5, top 6 draft.
Yeah.
Guys, that's $25 to $30 million guaranteed over 4 years. They're not passing that money up. His dream was not to come to Indiana and play for Indiana.
Right.
There's a big difference there. This is not his dream thing. Indiana was not his first choice. So this is something he's doing as to get through college. He didn't have a choice because of the one-and-done rule is still in effect. You have to be 19 before you can go to the NBA. So he had to go to college somewhere. Well, he didn't have to, but he was going to college someplace. And Louisville became not an option, and I just think he's gone. His dream was to play in the NBA, not to play college ball, and that's what I think people have to understand. It may be their dream to have Romeo there, and it would be great for Romeo to play for Indiana for another year, but that's just the reality of the situation. Is I don't think that's going to be the case. But let's worry about what's going on now, and Indiana playing in the Big Ten tournament now, and they're taking on Ohio State today. Romeo needs to have a big game.
Yeah.
Juwan needs to have a big game. They've got to get by this Ohio State team because if they lose, their season is, in essence, done. I mean, the NIT's there, but nobody gives a crap about the NIT. Let's be truthful here. The NCAA is the only place that anybody wants to be, and for that to happen, they have to win today.
Yeah.
And to win today, you have to play well. It's simply up to them. It's on their shoulders.
Did that beginning of the Indiana Mike call scare you a little bit? I thought he was saying that Romeo had gotten hurt and that he was done.
Yeah, I missed the first part of it. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, that would have been a nail in the coffin today. You would have had to imagine. I can't imagine they would have competed with Ohio State without him. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Romeo has got to be big today. He was in that first meeting against Ohio State. If he comes to play today, and you've got Juwan and Duran playing good down low against Caleb Wesson, I don't think it's any issue for Indiana today.
I don't either. They're a better team. They have better talent across the board. But they've been beaten by this team when they weren't playing well. But as long as they're playing good defense, which is what they have been doing lately, the offense comes with that.
Yeah.
And if you've got the interior playing well with either Duran Davis or Juwan Morgan, that's going to open things up.
Sure.
And if they happen to hit a couple shots, well, that just closes the door on people because if you have to guard Indiana on the perimeter and you have to worry about them around the paint and you have to worry about Romeo slashing and dashing, you're in trouble. And that's when this offense is really rolling.
Absolutely. Any other games in the Big Ten today that you're looking forward to catching?
Well, all of them. They're all going to be good from here on out because the Big Ten is it's just a league of parity, man. And the 4 worst teams played yesterday. So that means everybody playing today is elevated. You've got teams like Indiana playing today. Ohio State plays today, obviously. Michigan State is off until tomorrow. They had Michigan State, Purdue, Michigan, and whom else?
Wisconsin.
Maybe Maryland?
Wisconsin.
Maryland
plays the second game today.
What's that?
Maryland plays the second game today against Nebraska.
Well, there's a team right there, Nebraska, who struggled at the end of the season. They got a little hot, played good yesterday. Now they got to play a tough team, so we'll see if they can keep it rolling. And here's Nebraska, another team that was expected good things expecting of, and their season just kind of went into the tank as well. Injuries have hit them. They're trying to make a little something out of nothing here at the end of the season. The win last night over Rutgers, and it changes their season around. So all these teams can do something, especially when you're playing in the Big Ten, because you're playing somebody that's going to be ranked highly. Because if you're not, whoever you're playing is probably ranked. It's that simple. If you're not a ranked team, whoever you're playing is in the Big Ten.
And I'm glad you brought up injuries with Nebraska. I wanted to touch on that this morning, and I hadn't yet. They had 6 scholarship players dressed last night. 6. And 1.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I tell you, coaching's a lot harder when you don't have the players to coach.
Yeah.
When your first-level guys are not there, or many of them aren't there, and you're dealing with your second, your third-level guys, if you don't think that affects your team, you're nuts. Yeah. Then why recruit? Then why go out and recruit 5 and 4 stars? Because that's not who you're bringing in off the bench. You're not bringing a 5-star off the bench. That means you're bringing in the afterthought guys. I don't mean that disparagingly, but they're not your stars, obviously. And you're not going to win with you're not your stars. Yeah. So, again, it goes back to Indiana with the troubles they went through this season when they had a massive influx of injuries. It desperately affects your team, your season, and what you can do. And Nebraska, again, another example. That's a team that handed it to Indiana in Assembly Hall, but they couldn't do that now.
No. And, all right, we got to get out of here. Have fun at the Big Ten tournament today, and we'll hopefully talk about an Indiana win tomorrow.
Absolutely. Have a great day. I'll see you guys on the radio.
All right. That's going to pretty much wrap it up for us today. This Thursday edition of Indiana Sports Beat. Y'all go out and enjoy your day. Hoosiers play at 12:30. Make sure you catch that, and hopefully tomorrow we're talking about a win. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow. See you on the radio.